مساء الخير يا جماعة. في حد ابن حلال قال لي إن أنا I have to do this presentation in English. It turns out that I can do it in Arabic, but too late I had already practiced in English. Allow me to do this presentation fully in English. Build it and they will come. This is a very, very dangerous statement that has become one of those conventional wisdoms in anyone that is doing development of cities, of buildings, of compounds, of districts, of destinations. And the reason why this is dangerous is because it makes it sound like the building is what matters, and people will come if the building is there. But as a matter of fact, it invites people to put the developers to put all their effort, their money, their time, their thinking, their creativity in the building, its architecture, the materials, the functionality, etc. But does that really work? I'll give you two examples to illustrate what I want to say. There are buildings that we have to go to. These are buildings that we have no choice but to go to, like prison. I'm just kidding. No, like airports, for instance. Nobody wants to go to an airport. It's a functional building. You have to go there because you have to go through it. And I always found it very funny when I get to a destination and I'm exiting the plane and I find them saying, "Thank you for choosing Frankfurt Airport." Really? You think that I'm here because I wanted to go to Spain, but I changed my mind because of the airport. I want to come here. I'm not going to take a vacation there anymore. And you'll never find two Germans sitting at the end of the day saying, "Oh, what do you want to do tonight? Do you want to go to the airport for a couple of hours?" So airports are really a building that has a function, but it's not a destination. The flip side of that coin is that there are festivals, art festivals that are held in the desert. And people are lining up for weeks and weeks, registering, booking to be in the middle of the desert. There are no buildings there, but it is a destination. So the statement, "Build it and they will come," needs to be qualified. And in Egypt, we have a saying, "الجنة من غير ناس ما تداس." Basically, without people, even heaven it will not be popular. Yeah, Egyptians would rather go to hell with their friends than to actually go to heaven on their own. For 20 years, I had to do the job of trying to attract people back into downtown. And it might sound like an easy job, but it's not. Granted, downtown has some buildings that are really good-looking buildings, but they're falling apart. And 20 years ago, the reputation of downtown was that it was crowded, it was busy, it was dirty, there's nothing to do there. So it was an uphill battle to bring people back into downtown. But today, in our projects and our buildings, we welcome around 2 million visitors a year. So that was 20 years of doing things that brought people back. And now I'm going to share that with you in small bits and pieces. But let me lay down the foundation of what was happening 20 years ago when we first came to downtown. Three things that I would like to talk about, three factors that had shaped a little bit our culture and our identity back then. The first one has to do with the loss of identity. The second one has to do with a loss of an urban experience. And the third one, for lack of a better word, the loss of taste. Let me explain each one of them very briefly. The first one is that Egypt in the 70s, 80s, and 90s was subject to two cultures that have nothing to do with us. The first culture are all those expatriates that worked in the Gulf area and came back with a culture that has nothing to do with our Egyptian identity. They brought back customs, aesthetics, ways of speaking and talking that are not ours, a special kind of conservatism and a look at religion that has nothing to do with our own Egyptian conservatism and religiousness. And the other culture was a Western culture, and one that brought a lot of consumerism, a lot of liberalism that is not Egyptian. We're liberals in our own way, but it's not that way that we imported. And between the two, we had a loss of our Egyptian identity. The second factor is that people started moving out of the city center to new developments. And I don't mean only compounds, because as a matter of fact, informal areas became also gated communities. So we have, these are gated communities where people from different socioeconomic segments are not welcome. You take someone out of a compound, put them in an informal area, they will feel that they don't belong, that they're not welcome, and vice versa. The third one, and for the lack of a better word, we lost taste. Taste is not only in aesthetics, but it's in everything that we do. It's our value system. It's in the way that we honor our contracts and the way that we do business and the way that we talk to one another. So these three phenomena are what had shaped the city over the years. These are the abandoned buildings, and this is the loss of our value. So when I started working in downtown, it was basically empty. There was not much happening there, save for some retail space where things were happening. And now I was tasked with bringing people back into downtown. And I started realizing that those three factors, the loss of identity, the urban, and the taste, are what people were striving for. We could see that in the early 2000s, people were looking back at how can we become Egyptian again. They wanted to look at the Egyptianization of the Egyptian culture. So we based the way that we approached reviving downtown based on arts and culture. Why are arts and culture? Because they answer to those 3 points. For the first one, for the identity, arts and culture represent who we are today. And the more we go to the underground artists, the young artists, the liberal artists, the more we see a reflection of what we really are today, who we really are. The second thing is arts and culture, if we bring them into the city, it means that we're bringing back this urban experience. We can see people from different socioeconomic segments interact, feel good to be together, because art does not discriminate between people. A photo exhibition that has nice pictures is one that would draw people from any different background. And most of our events are open to the public, so we find a lot of people walking in the street that walk into our exhibitions. And the third one is obviously art and culture can elevate taste. And in the next 2 minutes, I'm just going to explain to you how we did that. The first stage was way before we developed the buildings, way before we started renovating any buildings. What we've done is we've opened our doors and we said to as many artists as possible, come and do your exhibitions, do your art, perform here. We gave spaces to art institutions, to schools that were teaching children about art or developing artists or giving them support. We started from around 10 events per year to today we are hosting more than 150 events per year. The second stage was to start creating permanent spaces. So we had we started with theaters, we started with art schools, we started with not only events, but spaces that were programmable all year round. So we have an independent art theater that today attracts 250 nights a year, attracts about 150 people. We have a place that shows a lot of Egyptian performance arts that is open to 5 nights a week. Yani دلوقتي it closes at 9, so only twice a week. And then the third stage is that we started investing in local concepts. We started bringing into downtown local brands, brands that are in touch with our identity, that bring back arts and crafts from the past with modern concepts. We want to move away from the idea of nostalgia, that we're trying to bring back the past. What we're doing is we want to see a contemporary Egyptian identity, and we want to give space to that. So without further ado, I'm almost done with my presentation. What I would like you to walk away with is that placemaking, when you want to make a place, you have to give it a soul. The building, the physical part, is not what determines it. And don't think of placemaking as only designated for real estate developers or people developing destinations. Your own home is a placemaking. You need to put in it your soul. You need to differentiate it from the next home. If you're building your own company, if you're a company owner, make your company a place where your clients, where your employees, where your partners are happy to come in. And you can only do that by being true to your authenticity and to yourself. We want to move away from copying blindly other models. So the one thing I can tell you is create places that represent you. Thank you very much.